Hello, thank you for joining the New Jersey Small Business Development Center at the College of New Jersey for this wonderful presentation on Excel. Learn the fundamentals, make MS Excel work for you. My name is Shakira Brown. I am an SBDC consultant, and I am also a professional speaker that speaks on communications. And I'm so happy that you're able to join us for this particular webinar series, which is part 1 of 6. So we always have to start with explaining who we are, because a lot of people there's always some confusion around the SBDCs. The College of New Jersey hosts an SBDC. We're one of 12 in the state of New Jersey, and we provide peer-to-peer business counseling and training services at no cost. And we're able to do that because we're supported by a number of entities, which I'm going to show you in our next slide. Our regional director is Lillian Morrow, and she's the one who actually makes sure that we have all these amazing presentations to offer you throughout every year. So please keep in mind that our services are confidential. They typically have no cost as it relates to counseling. And we always provide highly qualified specialists, government representatives, faculty, experienced and knowledgeable business owners, and private consultants like myself who help to unpack some of the things that small businesses need to go through, and also provide information and advice to move forward with. So here are some of those partners I mentioned. We're able to provide no-cost counseling to the Mercer County, New Jersey community, and that is our primary area that we serve because of these partners. Of course, the US SBA, which is, if you could think about it as the parent of all the SBDCs around the country. We, of course, the state of New Jersey through the Business Action Center, Mercer County, which has been an amazing partner of ours for many years, Rutgers, the College of New Jersey, which is our host college, that's where our office is based, RBAC, which provides loan assistance, as well as the UCEDC, which provides lots of small business resources and some financial assistance programs to small businesses. So without further ado, I'd like to give you over to today's presenter is Kevin Frankenfield. He's a Microsoft Office education consultant, and he is going to be leading all 6 parts of this series, and I will turn it over to him. And I'm going to give you access right now, Kevin, to be a presenter. Give me a second. All right, Kevin, you are ready to go. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Shakira. My name's Kevin Frankenfield. I am a corporate trainer. I have worked with multiple schools, software companies, doing training, mostly Microsoft training. My forte is Microsoft Excel. And today we're going to be learning the fundamentals. That would be how to input text, formatting, a little bit of creating basic formulas. I'm not going to touch upon functions today, as some of you may know, like the @ sum or some other functions. I'm holding that off. I want to go over just basic formulas today. What should you be able to do with today? Well, you should be able to manage some of your customers, create what is called a list, vendors or providers, enter some sales data, create some simple formulas, maybe even start budgets. What will the topics include? Well, I'm going to teach you how to go in and enter data, enter numbers, create formulas. I also want to touch upon some formatting, such as inserting columns, rows, cells, how to copy data from different areas, as well as how to use the clipboard. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my computer over to my screen, and I'm going to be turning off the video. So you should be seeing my screen, and here we have an Excel spreadsheet. I am going to open up one. A lot of people will say they get spreadsheets, they double click on it and open a file. I'm just going to go into File, which is called the Backstage area, and I'll go back to Open, and then I gotta find the file I'm looking for. A lot of people will click on this PC, If you double click on this PC, it just brings up this open dialog box. I'm not a big fan of the 365 clicking over on the right side. Now I added it to my documents. And what I want to do is I want to open up a file called Customer Contact List. So I'm opening the file. From File Open, I'll tell this to open, and now we should be seeing the file. Sorry, it opened up on a different screen. I had to bring it back over here. What I want to do is just go over some of the basics of Excel. What are the different parts of the screen? Up here, if you can see where my mouse is, I'm in the upper right-hand corner. It says Autosave, and this is called the Quick Access Toolbar. This can be customized for items that you constantly use and you can't find it, such as File Open or File Save. How can you create or customize your autosave or this quick access toolbar? Well, this is a button that will allow you to go in and put more commands on your quick access toolbar. Just click on the drop down. We could say, oh, let's start a new file. You put a check mark there and you'll see that there's a new icon up here. Well, I also want open. And that's all I'm going to do is I'm just going in there so I can open from the quick access toolbar instead of going to the file or what is known as the backstage area in Microsoft to allow me to either open or create a new file. Now I opened up a file. At the top, next to the quick access toolbar is the title bar. Here it tells you what file you have open and you also have your search. Below the title bar, we have the different tabs. Clicking on the tabs give you your different ribbons. So I'll just click on Home. When I click on Home, it shows me the Home ribbon. And if you look at the ribbon, you'll see that there's something that says Clipboard, Font, Alignment, Number. Those are called groups. So if you were reading information, you say, oh, go to the Home tab or Home ribbon, go to the Clipboard group, and then in the group, we have the commands. So here's font, and then I can make something bold, italic, and these are the different commands. Sometimes not all the commands are available on the ribbon. Take notice we have a font group, and then we have this icon, which is called a dialog box launcher. When I click on it, it's going to open up a dialog box and allow me to do more formatting to a cell. I'm just clicking on it to show you how to call it up. I'll just click on cancel. There's also something called on the clipboard. Now I called it a dialog box launcher, but sometimes they open up task pane. So when I click on it, a task pane appears here for the clipboard. If you didn't want the clipboard open, you can just click on the X to close it. There's also something called gallery. So if I click on a cell, I'm on cell B5 and I go over here to the styles. And if you move your mouse over it, you get a live preview of what the style would look like. Well, are there more styles available? Yes, there are these different buttons. If you click on the drop down, it just changes them. But if you want to see all the styles, there's this more button. Click on that, and it gives you a gallery. Go over the gallery, and it'll show you a live preview. When you click on one, then that's when it will become. I don't really want to change that, but I just wanted to give you what are the groups, commands, dialog box launchers, and live gallery. Below is the formula bar. Right now it says B4 here. This is called the name box. This has several functions, but for today, it's just going to tell us where we are at in a workbook. We also have what is called the formula bar. I'm in a cell B4, as it says here in the name box. I can also look on the screen and see the highlighted cell, but the formula bar shows me the contents within that particular cell. And you can edit directly up here in the formula bar. If you make an edit, you also have these icons, which I seldom use. One is to cancel the change I made. One is to accept the change. But this icon, insert function, I'm going to be using in a different session, but this is a very helpful button. So this is the formula bar and the name box. Now we have the work area below. We have columns, which are labeled with letters, and you have rows, which are labeled with numbers. Where a column, such as B4, in this particular one, these are called cells. With Excel, I can scroll around and I have different mouse pointers. If you look right now, my mouse pointer is a big plus sign. This is how Excel normally works. Using the plus sign, you can click and select a cell. Now that I selected a new cell, D, if you see column D up here, 7, or in the name box, D7, that is the active cell. Next to the cell, if I go up to one of the green borders, I'm just showing you that you get this four-headed mouse. When you get the four-headed mouse, you will once you click on the cell and you get the four-headed mouse, you can click on it and drag it to a new location to move it. This one tells me I'm moving it to where data already is, and do I want to replace it? Well, if you did an oops, you can say cancel. If you want to move it there, you can click OK. But I'm going to undo that. I'm going to move it back down there. And from the quick access toolbar, up here, this funny looking arrow is your undo tool. So if you do an oops, just click on it, undoes it, puts it back, and you're not going to be destroying or deleting some type of file that a lot of beginners fear is going to happen. There's also a little box in the selected cell, and it's in the lower right-hand corner. When you move your mouse over it, take notice it's a little plus sign. This has multiple functions. This can copy information. You can use something called autofill. But if I clicked on this and dragged it down just one cell, where it says sales representative, take notice how it says owner, because what I did is I duplicated what was in the cell by using this autofill option. So what I'm going to do is just undo that as well. Here we have a big spreadsheet. Now I can do multiple selections. Now we know that if we click on a cell, we select the cell. If you want to select a group of cells, which is called arrange, click on the first one, hold the mouse down, and drag it. There I have selected arrange. Take notice that B4 through B17 is selected. But if you look at the name box, because of B4 is the highlighted cell within this range, that is the active cell. I'll just hit enter once and take notice how the active cell is actually B5, and it says up here in the name box B5. Click off any cell to deselect a range. Can you select more than one range? Yes, you can. So if I select B5 through B17, and I wanted to select the information in another column, I can hold what is called the control key down. Hold the control key and select the next range. I let go. Oh, I wanted to add more to the range. I can go over to another column, hold the control key down, and now I have 3 columns selected. Why might I want to do that? Well, I could always say, make these bold. Now they're bold. I'm just going to undo that as well. So you can select a range, or by holding the control key down, you can select other ranges. Click off to deselect in case you did an oops. We can also go around and maneuvers around. If I go to cell A1, which is called going home, if you hit certain keys, such as the down arrow key, it moves the active cell down one. If I go to the right arrow key, so this is another way of moving around by using the arrow keys on your keyboard. If you hold the shift key down while you're using the arrow keys, you can select a range. So I'm going to hold the shift key down and then use the arrow key. I'm going to hit it 3 times. Take notice how it highlighted not only the cell I was currently on, but the 3 cells below it. And I can also go to the right and select cells by holding shift. Shift acts as anchor. I'll just go back and click off of there. Now that I clicked into a different cell, I'm in C18. If I hold the control key down and press the home key, H-O-M-E, it takes me back to cell A1. Now, if I want to get down to the end of my data rather quickly, there's the end key on your keyboard. But if you hold the control key down and press end, and take notice how it takes me to cell K76. And if I scroll down here just a little bit, you can see that it found the end of my data. Now, control home will take me back to cell A1. But if you accidentally forget to hold the control key down and hit home, it takes you back to column A in the current row. Now I can do control home to go back up to the top. Another way to quickly get down to the bottom or the last entry in column A is you press the end key just once. Don't even hold it down. You just press it once and you tap an arrow key. Well, I want to go down, so I'm going to click the down arrow key. Take notice how I quickly move from A1 to A76. If I hit the down arrow key one more time, I see the next blank cell. Now I can hit up again. I'm in the last entry in that column. If I hit end and the up arrow, I'm back up to the top. Now I can also move over to the left. So if I hit end and the left arrow key, take notice I'm in K1. And the right arrow key, I'm back at A1. It's just some quick moving around. With certain keystrokes, I can also select a column. To select a column, there's the column heading. If you look at column A right now, you'll see my mouse pointer has turned into an arrow pointing down. Click on it and you select the entire column. Now I'm just going to scroll down a little bit and take notice that it selects more than just the data. It selects all of the row, all of the whole column and all the data that's not there. To deselect it, just click off. Can I select more than one row or one column? Yes. If I wanted to highlight columns A, B, and C, I could go up there to A. You hold the mouse and keep it down and just drag it over the columns and you can select different ones. Now, what if I wanted to select columns that are not adjacent to each other? Well, I can select column A, hold the control key down and select column D. Now I have selected 2 columns. Again, if I hold the control key down, I control what I'm selecting. Hence, you want to control, use the control key. So I'll click on I. Now I have selected A, D, and I. Again, clicking off. Now, what if I wanted just to select the data? Because when I clicked on column A, not only did I select the data, but I selected all the blank rows below it. If I go back to A1, this time I'm going to hold the shift key down. I'm going to press the end key once and the down arrow key. That keystroke, holding the shift, again, means anchor where I've selected. The down arrow key and the down arrow tell you to select all the data below it. Take notice I selected A76. I'll just do control home to go back up to the top. What if I wanted to select data to the right? Again, shift to anchor, and in the right arrow key will select the information. And you can do different things. So I'm just do control home again. What if I want to select just the first 4 rows of data plus the heading? So I'll hit the shift key down and I'm just going to use the down arrow key to select the heading row and the 4 rows below it. Now, if I do the Shift and an over, I now have selected the data, which is different than going over here to the rows and clicking on the row headings. If I clicked on the row headings, not only do I select the row, I select all of the whole row and even the columns that don't have data. So just a little bit difference between them. What I'm going to do is I'm also going to click, I want to go down one screen. Instead of scrolling on your keyboard, you have the page down key. Click that once and it takes you down one page. I'll click it again and it takes me to blank cells. I did an oops, so I can hit page up again to go to the different sections. I'm just going to make this screen a little bit larger. Now, if I wanted to move screens to the left, now I'm in A1. If I hold the Alt key down and do page down, take notice it moved me over to column G. If I hold the Alt key down and do page up, I'm back to column. So we can move to different screens by using the keyboard. I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller. Now we also have, this is called a workbook. Sheet 1 is called a worksheet. There's also sheet 2 and there's sheet 3. There's really nothing on these sheets, but you could put different things on the sheets. And if you do a save, it saves all the sheets. You don't have to save each sheet individually. What I want to do is show you a keyboard shortcut to how to move between sheets. You could click on the mouse to click between sheet 1, sheet 2, and sheet 3. If you hold the control key down and do page down, take notice how I'm in sheet 2. Do it one more time, I'm in sheet 3. How do I go to the left? Control and page up to move between the different sheets. So here I want to show you how to select data in a large sheet. So this is basically moving around into an Excel workbook with the different sheets. I want to create a new file. Well, I added the new icon up here, so I could click on new, brings up a new file. Or you could do file, new, click on a blank workbook to bring up a new file. Now, each time you add a new file, it puts a name up here. Right now, I'm looking at book number 3 because we already opened up a book. I created a new one, which is behind there. Now, if you go down to the taskbar here, you'll see Excel, and you'll see that I have book 1 open. I have customer contact list, which was what we were looking at, Excel, and Excel book 3. I'm going to close number 2. I want to create a new worksheet. What we would do is you would select the cell you want to start in. To type text, you just type in text. So I'm just going to type in the ABC sales. I'll hit enter and take notice how the active cell is now A2. So I can say that this is going to be our sales forecast. I'll hit enter. I'm going to click back on cell A1 and take notice how ABC sales fits in that cell. I'm going to go up here to the formula bar, and you can use this formula bar to edit. I could say, oh, I want this to say ABC company. So I'll just click up there, type in the word company. Now you can click this check to tell to accept or hit enter, and it updates what's in the cell. Now I'm looking at this and I'm saying, well, ABC company sales now runs into cell B1. So I'm going to click on cell B1. Take notice up here in the formula bar, this is empty. With Excel, if the cell adjacent to it is empty and you type in more than what the cell will display, it will display the rest of the information into the blank cells. Now, if I happen to type something into B2, I'm just going to type the number 6 and hit enter. Take notice how ABC Company looks truncated. It says ABC Comp. If I click on it, it still says ABC Company Sales, but I can only view Comp. Well, how can I correct that? Well, if you wanted to see everything in that, you go up to the letters. Here's A, here's B, and then you'll see the lines between them, and you get this new mouse. Now you can click and drag this so that you can see the contents of that cell. I'm just going to drag it back to where it was. Or if you get up there and you double click on that line, it actually opens up the cell to the widest entry in that column. So again, if you take it back, it looks like it says ABC Comp, but it actually contains ABC Company Sales. If I delete what's in B1, take notice how the information comes back. I'll just tell this to widen to the widest entry in that column by double clicking between the A and the B. Now I want to enter the quarters and a total. Now I could click enter, hit enter, and then have to keep clicking. But if I wanted to enter a line of data or a row of data, I'm going to highlight the number of cells. I'm highlighting 5 cells because I want to put 4 quarters in there and total. When I highlight the range for a row, all I have to do is hit enter. So I'm trying to do this as quickly as possible. The active cell again is B4. So I'll type in QTR space 1. I'm not going, when I hit enter, take notice how the active cell becomes C4. So I can type in QTR space 2, hit enter, QTR space 3, QTR space 4, enter. I can type in total. Take notice when you type in text, it's automatically left a line in a cell. The only reason I highlighted the cells was to force it to go over to the left each time I hit enter. If I was going to put the sales regions in here, I could go to cell B5, and I'm going to type in North. Hit enter, it always goes down 1 cell. So I can continue typing in South, East, and West. I'm going to hit enter twice just to type in total. So I'm setting up my spreadsheet. As I said, text is always left a line. You can always format it differently, but it's left a line out of the box. I'm going to enter numbers. If I highlight a range, all I have to do is hit enter to go to the next cell. When I highlighted the quarters, I only highlighted a row. I didn't highlight any columns. So when I hit enter, it's going to go down the first column. Once it gets to B9, when I hit enter, it'll go back up to C5. So I'm going to type in some numbers. First, you highlight the range. And you just start typing in numbers. I'm just going to type in 123,000, hit enter, 119,000, 117,000, and then 122,000. Now that I'm at the bottom of the selected range, when I hit enter, it goes to the top of the column of the selected range, and then I can start entering quarter 2. It's just a quicker way of entering data without having to move the mouse and clicking on the different cells. So I'll type in 121, 118, 119, and 122. Now I did make a mistake. I'm not going to worry about it. I can come back to it later. I have to add additional zeros to cells C7 and C8, and I'll show you how to correct that. Take notice I did not click out. I'll correct that when I'm done entering the numbers. So I'll type in 125,000, 121,000, 122,000, and 123,000. Now I'm into the last column of the selected range. So I'll type in 126,000, 127,000, 123,000, and 125,000. Now I made a few mistakes, so if I hit enter, it puts me back into the first cell, B5. And if I just keep hitting enter, I can now go in there and retype in the number that's supposed to be the correct without having to click on the mouse. So here I typed in numbers, and take notice that the numbers are left aligned in the cells. Excel knows to left align them. Again, if you wanted to center them or something like that, that would be some formatting. What we're doing in this course is just building a sheet. Well, before I go in and start talking about formulas, what I would like to do is save the information. I'm starting to build the sheet. So how do I save it? And this is the first time I'm saving the workbook. There is options to save or save as. Well, this book doesn't really have a name. It just put a book up here called Book 3. This information is stored in what is called temporary memory, the memory on your computer. It's not on your hard drive, which is what permanent storage is. If my computer turned off, what's in memory gets lost. I need to make sure that it's going to be placed onto my hard drive. So I have to save the file. So it takes it from temporary storage, which is memory. And if you ever hear the term memory, that's what it is, temporary storage. It's what you're doing right now. I need to move it to the hard drive. That means I save all my changes so that when I call it up, it's there again. There are different ways of doing it. I did put the save icon up here. You could also do a file, and it doesn't matter whether you choose save or save as the first time. There's no file name. You didn't name it. Excel's calling it Book 3, but it's not its name. And it's only in memory. I need to move it to hard drive or storage, or even to the cloud. So if you do click on save, it brings up the save as dialog box. I could have clicked on save as well, but because it's the first time, it doesn't matter which one you choose. I'll just double click on this PC. I'm going to save it to my documents, and I'll call this ABC sales. So I'm giving it a file name. I'm going to save it as an Excel workbook. I'll click on save. Now it's saved to the hard drive in my documents with the name of ABC Sales. Look at the title bar, it says ABC Sales. Now I want to save this maybe every 5 minutes so I don't lose my work. But I just want to show you how to quickly save. Another way of saving it is that you have function keys at the top of your keyboard, F1 through F12. F12, the function key F12 is the save as dialog box. So if you don't remember going to say file, save as, just press F12. This dialog box comes up, and now I could go in and save the file, and I'll just call this save it as ABC. I'm going to change the name to say company sales. When I do a save as, it creates another copy of it. Take notice now I have the ABC sales, company sales. So I have two files I just created with the save as. Save will always update your current file. Save as allows you to rename a file and keep your original, or even save it to a new location. What I want to do is I want to start formulas. This is the key part for today's lesson. I always click where I want to put the formula. So I want to add up Q1. I want to put Q1 in B10 because that's the total column. How do I start a formula? Formulas start with equals. That tells Excel it's a formula and not a number or text. If I'm good at rekeying information, I could type in those numbers. So I could type in 123,000. I can hit plus because I want to add another cell. What do I want to add? 119,000. Hit plus 117,000. Now, I use this method if I'm quickly adding up numbers together. Do I recommend this way? No, but I want to show you how Excel works. So I got to type in one more number. Now I had to make sure that I typed them correctly. So I'm proofreading 123,000, 119,000, 117,000, 122. It's a little more work than I want to do because what if I forgot in zero? Then I would have to update this. Well, I'm going to hit enter. When I hit enter, it makes the total. I'm going to show you another little trick that if you highlighted these numbers, and down here below sheet 1, where it says ready, we have what is called the status bar. If you go over here to the status bar, you can see that there are different functions here. Take notice there's one here for sum, and it's saying that when I highlight those 4 numbers, the sum should be 481,000. Well, that's correct. The reason I don't want to do a formula this way where I type in the numbers is I made a mistake. The East actually made 116,000. So I type in 116,000 and hit enter. My formula didn't change. And I'm looking at it, I'll click on it and look up here in the formula bar. I'm looking at the numbers and it's like, oh, now I got to go back to my formula and change this to 116,000. I hit enter and it now updates it to the new. So I'll highlight this, look at this bar down here, look up here, and it's like, oh, I made a mistake. This is too much work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that formula out. Instead of typing the numbers in, and then when you make a change, you have to remember to change the formula. What I'm going to do is 123,000. That is in B5. 119,000 is in B6. 116,000 is in B7. And 122,000 is in B8. Well, let's start the formula again. Well, I'm not going to try to remember looking up there saying, okay, B5. I could type in B5, but why don't I just click on B5 because that's one of the cells I use. Oh, look at that. Look at the formula. It says equals B5, so I didn't even have to type in B5. Hey, that's great. Well, I need to add another number. So you use the plus sign to tell it to add. The minus sign is the negative, and asterisk is multiplication, and then slash is for division. But I'm going to keep adding. Well, I want to add another number. What do I want to add? 119. I'm not even going to try to figure out what cell it is. I'm just going to click on 119. Ah, look at that. It's putting in the cell reference to where 119 is. And if you look at it, the formula is kind of color-coded. The B6 is red, and it has a red highlight in the background. Well, did I add all the numbers together? No, let's hit plus again, and I'm going to hit the 116. I'll do it one more time. Now, if I hit a plus again, it will want me to add or click on another cell. I'm done here. So all I have to do is hit enter, and I get my total of 480,000. Just highlight the cells just for the fun of it. Look down here. On the status bar, it says the sum is 48,000. My sum's 48,000. When you're first learning Excel, yeah, you're going to probably question how it's going to calculate. And I've also seen people actually get out a calculator and punch in the numbers to make sure they're accurate. Well, if you type in the formula correctly, it's accurate. Now I'm going to change that 116 back to 117. When I hit enter, it updated my total without me having to go in and recalculate. So that's basically creating a simple formula. Now, other of you may have had people teach you a function called the sum function. I'm not teaching it in this course because we want to learn basic functions and how to create a formula. So I could go in here. Let's do this again. I'll do an equals. And this time I'm going to choose the cells in C5 plus. And I'm just hitting plus between each one of them. And then when I get to the last number, hit enter. I can do the same for the totals in F. So I'll click on F5. Remember, we always start with an equal. So I'll click on B5 plus C5 plus D5 plus E5. So I'll hit enter. There's my total. I'm going to go back to the first formula. So when you click on the formula, up here in the formula bar, instead of it showing the actual result, it's showing you what the formula is. So let's read this. It's saying it's equals B5, we're adding B6, we're adding B7 and B8. And if you look at the formula, because I put it in edit, it's showing you what cells it's adding. Does this look correct? It looks correct to me. You can always hit escape because we're not going to change anything. Now I want to show you another example of adding the formulas. Instead of me going in and adding them for each column, I could always create it for the first one. When I create it for the first one, I'm going to go in and copy this information to the other cells. Now there's this autofill handle. If you move your little plus sign to it, I showed you this at the beginning, you may not have remembered it, it copies the information from one cell to another cell. So I want to copy this information to the following cell. So I'm going to hold the mouse down when I get that little plus sign, and I'm just going to drag it over to E10. When I let go, it actually puts the formulas in there without me having to retype them. Let's click on the first one. Look at the formula, and if you double click on the formula, it shows you what it's going to add up. I'll just hit escape to get out of there. Now this one I typed in and it was telling it to add up what was in column C. But in column D, when I click on it, take notice, I copied the formula over. When you use that autofill handle, what it does, if it's a formula, it will change the formula, the number of cells you're moving it. What does that mean? Well, I'll hit escape here. So when I copied it from cell B10 to C10, it knew to change the formula by one column. So if we look up here, we see that we're adding column B up, B5 through B8. This one is C5 because it's one column difference. It knew to update the formula, moving the columns to the left. When I copied it from B10 to D10, it was two columns. So when you look at this formula, if I copy it over two columns, C, D, that's two columns. This should say D, which it does. Again, I copied it from here. I copied it over three columns now. So that would be B, C, D, E. Take notice how it puts E in there. The same holds true for rows. So if I click on here, instead of creating the formulas, I use that autofill handle, and it knows to change the row numbers here. Let's look at the formula here. Take notice what they have in common is B5, C5, D5, E5. It's the fives. I'll just hit escape. So when I copy it down just one row and I click on it, take notice that the fives have changed to a 6. I'll copy it down to the next two and I'll click on. So we have the original one, which is adding B5 through E5, B6 through E6, B7 through E7, and B8 through E8. So that's a quick way of going in and creating the formulas. I could have sat there and typed in each one with the equal sign. And as I said, some of you were probably taught using the sum function, and I don't want to touch upon that today because I just want you to learn basic functions. I'm going to update my file. I made changes. I added numbers, I added formulas. I can on the keyboard do a Control and S at the same time. That saves the file. Or you can do a file, save. Nothing really happens. It saves the file and my changes are there. So if I close this file and reopen it, all my changes are there. So I'll just do a file, close, and I'll do a file, open again. File, open. Now this was recent. And here it is under recent. Here's the file I just saved and closed. So I'm going to tell that to open. And when it opened, take notice, all my work's there, my formulas. Now I can go on and work with the functions. What I want to do is I want to add up this row as well. So what I'll do is I'll copy this formula to get our grand total. What I would like to do is find out what is our percentage of sales. So in column G, I'm just going to type in a label called percentage of sales. This time, what I want to do is I want to find out what percentage of this figure from the total. So I need to write a formula where I'm going to take F5 and divide it by F10. So I'm going to start with equals. So how do we do division? Well, we're going to use a slash. So I select the first one. We're going to take the total, which is an F5, and I'm going to divide it by what's in F10. I'm going to hit enter, and it gives me my percentage. We can always format it to be two numbers. If I copy this down, this is going to give us a little bit of an issue because remember, your formulas move one cell down. So what's below F5, F6? What's below F10? Nothing. So if I copied this down, it gives me an error. Well, I can't, what do I do? Well, I'm gonna have to type this in. There's going to be another option I'm going to show you in the next lesson that will eliminate this division by 0. But here I got to go in here, click on, type the formula in if it's giving you a division of 0. Click on the F6, which is the total, and divide it by the total. So I'm just creating a formula where I'm taking all of them and dividing them by the total. And now it's giving me the percentage of sales for each area for the year based on the total. I'm going to just do a Control S. You could do the save up here. You could even turn Autosave on. There, I turned it on, but it wants to save it to my cloud. I don't want it to save it to the cloud, so I turn it off. So the autosave is for the cloud if you're using that. I can click on the save button here. Again, nothing really happens, but it saves my information. So this was my sales for the year, or my sales. What I want to do is I want to figure out my costs. So I'm going to click in cell A13, just type in cost, hit enter. I have fixed costs and I have variable cost. And my variable costs are going to be 22% of my total. So I'm going to just go in here and type in 22%. Now I'm going to create formulas. Well, fixed costs, you know what it's going to be each time. So I'll just type in a number. I'm going to say that our fixed costs are going to be $230,000 a quarter for all the areas. Instead of typing in 230,000 all the way across for the 4 quarters, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy it. Now I showed you with the formula using the little corner down here, which is the autofill. Since this is a number, when I click on the autofill, take notice how it repeats all the different numbers here. So it kept the same number. There is an option to go in and change the order, making it 23,001, 23,002, but for now, just copy it over, it copies the number. Now I gotta create a formula. This time I'm going to multiply the total, which is B10 times this 22%. I'm clicking on the cell so you know what cells I'm going to be using. Where do I want to put this? I need to put it for variables. So I'm going to click into the cell. Again, I want to create a simple formula. So I'm going to do equals. Now I'm going to go up here and click on B10. I need to multiply it. So I use an asterisk of 22%, which is A16. Now I could have typed in 0.22, but then if I change the percentage, I would have to change it in the formula. I don't want to do that. So I'll click on the 22% and I'll hit enter. There's my total. Now I can't drag this formula across because if I do move it to the right, B10 becomes B11 and A16 becomes B16, and no, it's going to be C11 times B16. Nothing is in B16, and it's going to give me an error. There it is, a 0. So what I would have to do, again, since I got to go in and create a basic formula for each cell to bring them over. So I'm doing equals, clicking on the cell, multiplying it by the 22%. Now in lesson 2, I will show you an easier way of doing this, but we're learning just basic formulas right now. Now what I want to do is I want to total my costs. We know how to do the totals. We're going to add B14 to B15. So that's just a simple math addition. So I'm going to hit equals, and I'm going to click on B14. I need to add it, so I hit the plus sign. I'm going to click on variable. As you can see, creating formulas are rather easy. Well, since I'm going to be adding the columns over, I can actually drag this over, because if I move one to the right, there is numbers in C14 and C15, D14, D15, and E14, E15. So I can drag those over and get the totals. Now I need to figure out my revenue. So I'm going to do net here. What I need to do is I need to take my total sales minus my total cost to give me how much money revenue that we made. Again, this time I'm going to subtract two numbers. So I'm going to click on equals, and I'm going to select B10. I'll do minus, and I'm going to click on B17. Hit enter. Now take notice that the numbers are in the same order, so I can click on that and drag that over to get our net total. Now we can go in and format this information, but I'm going to click on save. So here we created a simple workbook using some simple formulas. Now you got to be careful with formulas. If I go in, I'm not going to type in equals, but I'm going to say 3 times, and then in parentheses, I'm going to type in 2 plus 1. I'm trying to think in my head, what is it going to equal, or how's this going to work? A lot of people are going to take the 3 times the 2, make it 6, add 1, and make it 7. The actual answer is going to be 9. Why is it going to be 9? Well, there are different, there's going to be a handout after class that will give you what is called the order of precedence. How does this actually work? If I go back here and edit this by putting an equal sign on there, take notice it puts in a 9 and not the 7. Things that are done in parentheses are done first. So you look at the formula, if there's parentheses, you do what's in the parentheses first. we aren't raising anything to a power. What does that mean by a power and how does that look like? I could say, let's take B5, and if you use the caret, you are raising it to a power, which is an exponential, and I'll say raise it to the second power. And there it puts in the number. It's a large number. Well, if the second thing it's going to do is exponentials, we don't usually have to worry about that in our formulas. Take notice it took the 2 plus 1 and made it 3. We're not raising anything to a power, so the next thing it's going to do is multiplication and division, whichever comes first in the formula. And what we're saying is now that we added that 2 plus 1, it's 3, so now it's 3 times 3, so it's going to be 9. There is a tool that helps us figure out our formulas if they don't work. This is usually taught in like an advanced course, but I always figure out it's easier to show people how it calculates if you're not getting the right number. I go to the Formulas tab. In the Formulas tab, there's a group down here called Formula Auditing. When you click on this command, Evaluate Formula, it brings up and shows you how the formula works. So here it's telling me that we have the formula equals 3 times 2 plus 1. Well, if you click evaluate, the 2 plus 1 is put in parentheses. It's going to do that first. So you click on evaluate, and there's where it gets the 3. Now I'm doing 3 times 3, which will be 9. So click on evaluate, and it basically tells you how it gets to your answer. So if your answer isn't coming up right, is your formula written correctly? Remember, you might have to put parentheses around certain numbers in order for it to calculate correctly. And that's something you have to always check. I'm just going to hit delete. I'm going to click on save to save our file. So I showed you how to do data entry and basic formulas and the order of precedence. In the handout, I talk about parentheses, exponentials, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. If you need to remember the order they need to go, it's please for parentheses, exponentials, which we don't really use that often, but some people will use it. So please excuse parentheses and then exponentials. Then it's going to either use multiplication or division. So that's my dear, whichever comes first, left to right. So if a division sign becomes before a multiplication sign, it's going to do the division first because it's from left to right. After it does the multiplication and division, then it's going to do the addition and subtraction, whichever comes first. So if the minus sign is before the plus sign, it's going to do the subtraction. So we have to remember that this is going to be your dear Aunt Sally for addition and subtraction. So just remember this phrase, and this is how most math will calculate. And it's a matter of knowing the order of execution. Parentheses first, then multiplication and division, whichever comes first, left to right, then it's addition and subtraction. So it's please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Not all of us are going to be creating spreadsheets for budgets. I'm going to go in here, File, Open, and I'm going to open up another file. And it's going to be my transaction list. You will have access to this file. There are different ways that we can go in and add information. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go up here to this transaction list, and here I'm going to put in the dates, what store we're selling it, the quantity, and the item and the number. I could go into the next number and just type in a 9. can I get this 8 to change to a 9 using the autofill? The answer is yes, by clicking on it, dragging down that little corner. It says 8. Uh-oh, but there's this icon here. If you click on this icon, you should be able to go in and tell this to do a sequence, and this one's not letting me do that. So what I'll do is I'll just type in a 9. Or another way of doing it, I'll just delete that out. Highlight the first, those two numbers, 7, 8. What is the difference between them? 1. So when you drag it down, it puts it a 9. Now to put in today's date, you could enter it in, but there's a keyboard shortcut. There is the semicolon key on your keyboard. If you hold the control and semicolon key, it puts in today's date. So what did I actually type? I pressed down the control key and I typed in the semicolon key. So if you want to write that down, control plus the semicolon at the same time puts in today's date. Now, if I wanted to repeat the entry above it, now I'm in C10. What's in C9? The word Woodbridge. Now I'm going to use a keystroke, control, and the quote key. Take notice it repeats the entry directly above it. So what keys did I hit? I hit the control key and the quote key. That repeats the cell directly above it without you having to retype it. Numbers, you just type in. So we're going to sell 2. And if I said it was going to be digital cameras, I'm going to say it's going to be a laptop. So I'm going to just type in an L for laptop. And what Excel tries to do is autocomplete. It looks at the list entry in column E, finds all the unique entries. And because there's only one that starts with L, it says, do you want laptop? If I didn't want laptop, I can continue selecting, but I'll just hit enter. So we'll try this again. I'm just going to type in 10 this time. I find it easier than highlighting numbers and bringing them down. Today's date, which is control semicolon. But this time I want to do it for Edison. So I'll type in an E. Take notice how it brings in Edison. And I'm just using the tab key to move over to the left. And I'm going to type in 2. And this time I'm going to say that they were 2 desktop PCs. Well, look in the list. There's desktop up here and there's digital camera. So if I type in a D, nothing happens. But if I type in the E, because there's only one that starts with DE, it puts desktop PC in there, and I'll just hit enter. I'll do number 11. I'll put in today's date with the control semicolon. I want to enter Wayne. Well, look at the list. Take notice there's Woodbridge and Wayne. So I have to type in a W, nothing happens. But as soon as I type in the A, Wayne appears. 2, hit tab. I'll type in S for scanner. There, it put it in. All I have to do is hit enter. There is another way of entering. So I showed you how to enter a date, control semicolon, how to enter the data directly above it, which is control quote. And now I want to go in and show you another feature where I'm going to go in and pick from a drop-down list. If you click on the cell and you use the right mouse, it brings up this shortcut menu with all these different options. It pertains to this particular cell. Look down at the bottom and you'll see pick from a drop-down list. What does that mean? Well, let's click on it and it puts it on a drop-down list and it shows us all the unique options in here. Well, if you happen to spell Wayne wrong, it might show you 2 Waynes. So this is just to help you select an option and spell it correctly. It doesn't do it for numbers, but I can do it for items. Right-click and pick from a drop-down list. And I can say digital camera. Now that I made a change to this, I want to save it. Do I want to save it to the original file or do I want to save it to a new file? I'm going to save this to a new file by pressing F12. Remember, that brings up the Save As dialog box. I'm just going to go in here, click in front of the file and just type in my transaction list and hit enter. And now I created a new file called my transaction list. I want to send this to somebody, but I want to send it as a PDF. To send it as a PDF, I need to save it as a PDF. So I'm going to do the F12 again, Save As. I'm going to keep it my transaction list, and the Save As type is the Excel workbook. Nope, I don't want to save it as the Excel workbook. I'm just going to click in there and it gives me different file extensions, and one of them listed in here is PDF, and that's towards the bottom. So I'll click on PDF, and I have checked here, it's going to open the file after publishing. Excel can't open PDF files, but it can create them. I'll click on Save, and now it's going to open up my file as a PDF. Also, what if I want to send this file to somebody? Well, I could do File, and I can go Export. And from there, I can or you can send this out to somebody. And I think it's Share. So once you click on Share, you can select Email. This way, I don't have to open up an email, find the attachment, and when I click on Email, I'm going to send it as an attachment. So it opens up Outlook, and there it is. I can address it to the person, and there's the attachment without me having to go in and click on attachment and add it. Again, I'll repeat that one. If you're going to send this out, it's go back to File, go down to Share. You're going to send it as email and send as attachment. Now, the other option there was File, Share, Email. You can send it as a PDF as well. So everybody gets the PDF version of it. And there it is, the PDF. So having Microsoft Office 365, as long as you have Outlook, it's all works seamlessly together. I didn't have to go out to Outlook to add the attachment. I could add it directly through that. So there was going in and adding some information. Again, right-clicking a cell to get the list pick from a drop-down list. We know that Control semicolon adds today's date. Control quote adds the information from the cell directly above it. I'll just do a Control S to save this. And if I want to close the file, I can do a File, Close, and it closes the file, or a Control W. How to edit some data. I'm going to open up another file called cost analysis file, open. I'll just double click on this PC. It should take me back to my Excel folder. And this file I haven't opened on my computer. So this is protected view. This is read only. I can't even use these ribbons. It shows them, but they're all grayed out. What I have to do is if I trust this file, I have to enable editing. So always check when somebody sends you a file, because you did not create it, it's going to give you this protected view. Click on enable editing to edit this information. Here's some information that I want to go in and copy. We have New York here. This is one workbook. Here's Philadelphia. It's blank. And here's Parsippany. What I would like to do is copy the information without creating it. I could select the whole worksheet. To select the whole worksheet, To the right of the A and right above 1 is this little square with this triangle in it. If you click on it, it selects the whole worksheet. Control A will do the same thing. What I want to do is I want to copy this information so that I can paste it into the other worksheet. To copy, many of you probably have different ways. I could right-click on the active cell and say copy, or from home under the clipboard, I can select the copy command, or from the keyboard, Control and C, C for copy, will copy the information. Once I copy it, it is in memory. You don't see it, but it's in memory. I'm going to click on Philadelphia, and I want to paste it. Now, I don't have to select the whole worksheet to paste it. I got to select the cell where I want it to start. A1 sounds good to me. But I'm going to paste. I'm not going to do a Control V, or I'm not going to right click. I'm going to go up here to the clipboard and click on this paste. Now, if I clicked on paste, it would show you how it would look if you pasted in there. And there's some different examples. Here's paste, here's formulas and formatting. Here's keep source formatting. And there's some other paste options down here as well. Link it, picture. But what I want to do is I want to be able to paste it. And depending on which version of Excel, you might want to paste it keeping the source formatting and column widths. So I'll click on there. And now Philadelphia. So what I have to do, I have to make changes. How do I edit this data? Well, in cell A3, it says New York office. Now there are different ways to edit. One is always go up and highlight in the formula bar, highlight the words New York and just type in Philadelphia. Hit enter. These numbers, I could just hit delete, or I could tell it just to go in and clear information. You can hit the delete button on your keyboard, or from home, go all the way over here and there's this clear. When you click on the drop down for clear, you can clear formats, content. Well, I don't want to clear the formats. I don't want to clear out the dollar signs and the decimal places. I'm going to say clear content. Clears it out, and now I can enter in new numbers. And it should calculate. I didn't clear out the calculations. I'm going to go to Parsippany, and because I still copied it, I should be able to paste. Oh, nope, it doesn't want me to paste, so I got to go back to New York. I'm just going to highlight again the whole worksheet, tell it to copy, and then go over to Parsippany, and again, tell it to paste. Now it says New York here. If you want to edit directly in the cell, one way you can edit directly in the cell without using the formula bar is to double click in the cell. When you double click in the cell, it puts the insertion point. Highlight what you want and just type in Parsippany. Hit enter. Again, I want to clear out this information. Again, I could have hit delete. Now that I made changes to this file, what did I do? I copied information from one sheet to another. So that's using copy and paste. I'm just going to do either a file save or a Control S to save the file. I could also click on the save icon up here to save this file now that I made changes to it. I'm done with the file. I could do Window, close, or I can do a Control W on my computer keyboard and it closes the window. What I would like to do next is introduce you to the clipboard. I have a Word file and I have an Excel file. I'm going to open up the Excel file first. File, open, and I'll just double click on this PC And if you're going to try this exercise, this one is going to be called Revenue Figures Combined. I'll tell that to open. And this opened up in protected view, so I got to enable editing. What I need to do is I need to open up Word because I want to copy some information in Word. So I'll click on Word and I'm going to do File, Open, this PC. And I'm going to go back to my Excel and there's this Word document, revenue figures in a separate table. So I'll tell that to open. So here is my Word document and I got to enable editing. What I want to do is I want to copy this information in revenue and place it back into my Excel worksheet for revenue figures combined. How can I do that? And I don't want to keep going back and forth. You're seeing how I'm trying to switch back and forth and which window do I go to? What I'm going to do is I'm going to use something called Clipboard. Windows 10 has a Clipboard as well, which you can activate, but you have to go through a setup process, which is rather quick. To call up the Clipboard in Windows 10, if you're using Windows 10, Control V is paste. If you use the Windows key in the V, it will bring up the Clipboard so that you can use it between different applications. The Clipboard we're going to be using is going to be between Microsoft. So I'm going to click on Clipboard here, just go up here to that icon, and here's what I copied in the Clipboard. I'm going to clear all. What I want to do is I want to add this information to the Clipboard and then use the Clipboard in Excel to paste it into. So we're taking information from Word and we're going to paste it into Excel without us having to rekey all the information. Well, I'm going to highlight the revenue figures. I'm not highlighting the items. What I need to do is copy this. You can right-click the copy, click on the copy icon, and take notice in the Clipboard, it puts these items that I just highlighted. The Clipboard will hold 24 different copies that you can paste. And as soon as you do the 25th one, the very first one that you did drops off. So I'm going to highlight the next group. Now, this is the first group I highlighted. This will drop down in the list. This will become the lowest when I did the first one. So when I tell this one to copy, now these figures are at top. So you might want to do this from the bottom up in case you're having, it's like, which ones are which? Wayne, I'll do a copy. Take notice I have all three in the Clipboard. I don't want to rekey all this information. So I'm going to go back over here to my Excel worksheet, which is revenues figures combined. Where's the Clipboard? Just like I did in Word, from Home, Clipboard, click on the dialog box launcher. Take notice the numbers are actually there from Word, and it even tells you that it's from Word. Where do I want to put Wayne or Livingston? Remember, Livingston was my first cut from Word, so that's the lowest one. So I just click up here where I want Livingston and click on the actual Livingston numbers. Take notice how it puts them in there. Do Paramus, and you might have to double click, or you can click and just tell it to paste. So what I did is I copied information from Word, put it into the Clipboard, select it where I wanted it in Excel, and I'll just redo that again. I just did an undo 3 times. So you click on the cell where you want it to start, click, you can either click on paste or double click it. I want Paramus, I know that's the second one here. And the same for Wayne. The Wayne is the top one. Now I can create my formula. I'm going to do a cheat. I did not introduce you to functions, but to add up columns rather quickly, there is a keyboard shortcut that will add up a column of numbers. look for the Alt key on your keyboard, hold that down and just press the equal key, and it's going to give you some function. As I said, I'm going to go over functions in the next one, but I want to add these up rather quickly. So I did this Alt equals, which is basically the shortcut key for summing up a column of numbers. I'll hit enter. I'm going to use that autofill command to copy the formula over for the other two. I'm going to go up here to total. Now I could click on auto sum up here, and if you actually move your mouse up to auto sum, it's in home under editing, auto sum. Take notice that the window help shows you that you can get auto sum by clicking on Alt equals. That's what that's telling you. So Alt equal, hit enter, and I can copy this down. There's my totals. Today's date, control semicolon, and now I just updated this information from Word. So what we did is we took information from another document, put it in the clipboard, then used the clipboard to paste it back into Excel, so I didn't have to rekey all those figures. Now I'll just do a file save as by doing F12, and I'm going to say that this is revenue figures combined, and I'll just type in the word updated. Now I created a new file called revenue figures combined. Another option we want to do is sometimes people give us files and mistakes happen. And I'm going to go open up another file, and we'll look at this one. And this one's going to be called Sales Commission Report. I'm going to close out of this. Let's look at this particular report. Take notice, I'm noticing that these are off by one column, and these are kind of off by one column. What I actually want to do is I'm going to show you two ways of correcting this actual file. What I want to do is I want to make a copy of this particular sheet. I'm not going to do the copy and paste that I showed you earlier. I want to duplicate this information just to show you two different ways of correcting this file. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here to sheet 1. If you hold the control key down and click on the word sheet 1, take notice the mouse shows a sheet of paper with a plus sign with it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep the control key down, keep the mouse down, and I'm moving it so that arrow is between sheet 1 and sheet 2. When I let go of both the mouse and the key at the same time, I made a copy of sheet 1 that has the same information as sheet 1. So a quick way, I just showed you some intermediate topics here, but it's a quick way of duplicating something once you create it, is hold the control key down on the sheet and drag it to the left or to the right, release both at the same time to create a copy of the worksheet. With this one, I want to go in and make some changes to this. I take notice that, whoa, these numbers need to be shifted over one column. So I'm going to highlight these two numbers. What I need to do is I'm going to insert two cells, and you always select the cells where you want to insert. So I'm selecting B5 or B6 and B7. When I select these two and I use this insert command, it knows to insert the information at those and take the information in B6 and move it over one column. I don't have to worry about what's in column C, D, and E. That's going to move along with it. You just tell it where it's going to start to move. And from the home ribbon, I'm going to go over here to cells, click on the drop down for insert, and I'm going to say insert cells. Now it's asking me, what do I want to do? Do I want to shift the cells to the right? Yeah, I want to take what's in here and shift it from B to C. So I make sure I'm shifting it right. I'm going to click OK and take notice how I now shifted that information to the right. In row 10, I'm noticing, well, there's something a little bit funky here. Mary Ann probably should have been in cell A10. So I'll just click in A10. Now, I can double click to edit. I can edit up here, or if you use the function key F1, or F2, F2 will put it in edit. So you click in there, press F2, take notice how it puts the insertion point. I can type a space and I'll hit enter. Now I want to delete Ann and move Williams over one column to the left. So this time I'm going to go home, under cells, I'm going to delete, and I'm going to select delete cells. What do I want to do? I don't want to shift cells up. I want to shift cells to the left. So I got to choose that option. Click OK, and take notice now how everything is aligning up. So now I can go in and put in my totals. So again, I told you about the alt equals. So I'll do alt equal. Hit enter. And because it's the columns, I can just use the autofill to drag that over. There's my totals. And I can do the same for G, alt equal. I will go into this function a little bit more detail when I am covering functions in the next lesson. There are some things you need to know, but I'm just showing you the basics. There's my sales commission report. I'm just going to do a Control S to save my file. So Control S will save it. Doesn't look much like much happened.
Kevin,
Yes.
we are getting close to the end time. We promised we would end at 11. So
Okay.
if you can just wrap up this portion of the lesson, and then I can close out the session.
Okay, I think I've showed you how to insert cells, copy, move, use the clipboard, inserting columns. If I wanted to insert a blank column at column C, all I have to do is click on column C, and then the column heading, right click on it and say insert, and take notice how it inserts it. If I want to insert a blank row, let's say I want it at 4, you click on 4, right click on it and say insert. I'm just going to do Control Z to undo those. Now, if you select 2 rows or 2 columns, I selected 2. If you select 3, then you select 3. You're telling it how many rows or columns you're going to insert when you click on the first one and say insert, and take notice how you insert. Now you can also do the reverse, right click and say delete, and that's how you delete columns. So what I had down for today was insert columns, rows, and cells, copy data, move data, as well as using the clipboard, entering numbers, and entering formulas, and entering data. So we covered everything that we were talking about. There was only one other thing I wanted to quickly show you, and that was how to correct this. So I'll just highlight these numbers, go to the edge, get that 4 headed, and just drag these over. Delete that one, highlight this information, go to the edge, drag it over, and that's another way of copying or correcting the information. So I think we covered all the topics today. I hope you learned the main thing was formula and how to work or create your own workbook. Shakira, do you have anything to add?
Yes, well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I'm going to quickly just give you a little bit of the highlights for what's coming up. Unfortunately, we don't have time to take questions today, but if you have questions, please save them for the next session, which is on August 25th, same time, 9:30 to 11 a.m. with Kevin once again, and he's going to be going over some more of these wonderful tools within Excel, which, by the way, today jam-packed with information, and really, hopefully you can learn something. And if you were wondering, if you're watching this live, this will be provided to you again as a recording. You will get a prompt email that you will be able to watch the recording of this session. So I would like to also thank Kevin once again for participating, and thank you for joining us. And if you are confused and you need help, please reach out to us. Our contact information is here. The first number is for our regional director, 908-295-5926. And also that's another number for our office next to that. Please feel free to email Lillian Morrow, our regional director, or visit our website. And of course, if you're a Mercer County business and you need assistance with county-related activities, please reach out to the Office of Economic Development at 609-989-6555 or email Anthony Carabelli Jr. at acarabellijr@mercercounty.org. And once again, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you on the part 2 of the 6-part Excel series. Thank you again, Kevin, for joining us.
You're welcome.
Take care, everybody.